So Ron DeSantis decides he is going to drop out of the race. You can hear the announcement. Here it is. This is Governor Ron DeSantis saying, I'm out.
If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign.
So now there are a lot of questions because when the race was happening and Donald Trump was not attending the debates, but you had all of those people on stage at one time, Chris Christie, Asa Hutchinson, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, when you had all of those people on stage, Ramaswamy, all of them on stage at one time, the consensus was no one is going to beat Trump until you narrow this field, and the encouragement to get people out. Hutchinson dropped out very quickly. Tim Scott shortly after that. Chris Christie after that. Ramaswamy is out. And now you've seen Ron DeSantis step out. It is now a two-horse race. You've got Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. Can she gain any momentum? And this is a question for Republicans because you hear a lot of voters say, I don't want Biden or Trump. But Trump is winning everywhere. The narrative about Iowa that I heard, which I thought was clever, but I didn't really buy it. It was, well, if you look at the numbers with all the people that were in the Iowa caucuses, that 50% of the people didn't want Trump. He got 51% of the vote, but 49% voted for somebody else. Okay, well, everybody's out now. What happens? That's the question. If you see DeSantis voters split and Haley gets half and Trump gets half, Donald Trump's got a huge lead. She's doing well in New Hampshire, but people are saying that's because of liberals. And I don't care who it's because of. If she wins in New Hampshire and has some momentum going into South Carolina, there's a chance. I say this as an observation. What makes me laugh about these things is when I make an observation, I'm not endorsing one way or the other. I'm not saying I like one candidate better than the other. I'm making an observation. This is what it looks like. There aren't very many campaigns that I've witnessed, and I've witnessed quite a few, that I can remember where, in a primary now, not about an incumbent, but in a primary, where we weren't surprised by the outcome. In 2016, when Trump won his first term, everybody thought that it was going to be Jeb Bush. If you remember, he was the front runner day one. And there were a lot of people. Marco Rubio was in there. Ted Cruz was in there. There were a lot of Republicans. That was a wide field to start out with. By the time it was all said and done, the last two standing were Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. So no one really expected that. They thought that it was going to be Jeb Bush. He had the name recognition. He had the money. He had the political machine around him. All of that was what was expected. So having something unexpected happen, I believe it was Bush in 2000, George W. Bush in 2000, the head-to-head matchup and the kind of the banging of heads and vitriol with John McCain. All of that happened. Those are some of the surprises. So, I don't want to discount Nikki Haley. That's not my intention whatsoever, but she has a big hill to climb. She's losing in her home state. The governor and Tim Scott have endorsed Donald Trump. What does this mean? But the bigger question for me is for the electorate, because I have talked here in the Valley often in rooms full of Republicans and otherwise. I've said we are never going to change the outcomes in our elections until we change the electorate. If the same people are electing the same people, you've got to change who we elect by changing who votes. Not getting rid of the people that are already voting, but a real serious infusion of new blood. People that are listening now or that listen as the elections get closer, people with very strong opinions, but they don't exercise their right to vote. No candidate's going to listen to you. Let's just be clear. If you don't vote for them, if you don't have the ability to vote for them or against them, they're not going to listen to you. They are going to speak to the people that are listening. The ones that show up, that's who they're going to speak to. And if we don't watch, if we're not careful, you just see the same things happening over and over again. So one of two things is going to happen. No one's going to shrug their shoulders at this election. If it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, you are going to see passion. They are two polarizing figures. You are either going to see massive turnout, or you're going, in my opinion, I think you're going to see either massive turnout or turnout's going to be down. People are going to shrug their shoulders and say, let the base of both candidates duke it out, because I don't want either one of them. I'm out. I'll leave it blank. I may show up to the polls, but I'm going to leave that blank. And I don't know which way it's going to go yet. And we'll see. And Donald Trump, the questions, it's funny. This is one of the things. This is him talking about DeSantis.
Just said, will I be using the name Ron DeSanctimonious? I said, that name is officially retired.
So that is what's funny. Now it's over because no more of the vitriol. Remember little Marco with Marco Rubio and all of that stuff. Here is a compliment. This is a compliment from the former president to the governor of Florida.
Really terrific person who I've gotten to know his wife, Casey, for having run a great campaign for president. He did. He ran a really good campaign. I will tell you, it's not easy.
So that is, what are we going to get? There are many people that like the brash kind of in-your-face, I'm going to jam it down your throat attitude. Let's be honest. There are people out there that are fed up that really love it. There are others that are totally turned off by it. Can Donald Trump, or will Donald Trump send the message about his presidency? Will he say, this is what happened when I was president? These are the good things that I did versus what we're seeing now from his perspective, because we're going to get the others from Joe Biden. Joe Biden is going to say, these are all the great things that have happened since I've been the president of the United States, as opposed to when the other guy was in office. Is it going to be about those issues, or does this devolve into a two-way, just a slap fest of insults? If it's just the two of them. We're going to wait and see what happens with Nikki Haley, but I'm anxious to see what happens in this election cycle.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.